Every NFL season is full of surprises. There are teams that take leaps, whether that be from being god awful to just mediocre, from being mediocre to being into a wild card spot, or the Commanders last year, who went from a 4-win team in 2023 to 12 wins in the conference championship game last year. You also have teams who take a dip, whether that be going from the Super Bowl to losing early in the postseason, from winning the division comfortably to being on the fringe of the playoff picture or falling out of the playoffs, or even teams who seem to be at a status quo of 8 wins. The bottom falls out. Today, we explore this topic, and I will run through a list of teams that I think will either take a leap or fall off. For this video, I take a look at all 32 teams in the NFL and I say, okay, how many games did they win last year? Why would this team be better in 2025? And why would they be worse? That could be, did they hire a new head coach? Did they make key additions in the offseason, either through free agency or through the draft? Conversely, did they have key losses in the offseason? Did they lose a coordinator or two? Or does it just seem like the organization is a boiling kettle? Kind of like sometimes when I make oatmeal and I fill the kettle of milk and I turn the burner on too high and the milk overflows and makes a big mess. Does this team just seem destined for a letdown this coming season? The first team that I think is going to take a leap in 2025 is New England. Why do I think New England is going to take a leap? Well, there are 3 reasons. Number 1 is the upgraded head coach. I do not think Gerard Mayo is a capable NFL head coach, at least not yet. And we saw Mike Vrabel take a Titans team led by Ryan Tannehill to an AFC Championship game a few seasons ago. Number 2, Drake May is going to be in his 2nd season. It's reasonable to believe that he will improve in his 2nd season. And number 3, there should be some regression to the mean with injuries on defense, and therefore their defense should be much better than it has been the last couple of years. Additionally, Mike Vrabel's a defensive guy, so he should at least elevate the floor of the Patriots defense. Now, why might the Patriots not take a leap? They really can't fall off because they only won 4 games last year. But one possible cause of why they would not take a leap is their offensive line. I believe they drafted Will Campbell in the 1st round, but their offensive line still needs a lot of work. If their offensive line is as disastrous as it was a season ago, then the Patriots could very well be where they were a season ago. Another team that I think is bound to take a leap in 2025 is Chicago. Why would the Bears take a leap in 2025? Like New England, you have what seems to be a significant upgraded head coach. Now, Ben Johnson, I understand, does not have experience throwing a challenge flag and taking on all the responsibilities of being a head coach. But I know he was an awesome offensive coordinator for the Lions, very intelligent, ran one of the best offenses in the NFL with Detroit. And there's a lot of reason to believe he could help the Bears offense with Caleb Williams and DJ Moore and Cole Kmet and all of their skill position guys. And he's an upgrade. I know he's an upgrade simply because Matt Eberflus was a joke of a head coach. And Thomas Brown obviously was not any better when he took over as interim. And the other reason is the Bears' offensive line appears to be much improved. The Bears' offensive line was one of the absolute worst in the NFL last season. They've made a lot of changes on the offensive line, headlined by acquiring Joe Thuney from the Chiefs. So the Bears should be much better offensively, which should raise their floor in 2025. They only won 5 games last year. What could be a barrier to the Bears improving? I think it could be a lack of improvement on their defensive line. That was a problem for them last year. And I still think their defense will probably be pretty good in 2025. But if their defensive line is not very good this year, then that could limit their ceiling. One team that I think is in for a fall off in 2025 is Miami. Why do I think Miami's in for a fall off in 2025? I think they're questioning a lot of things internally. The first 2 seasons under Mike McDaniel, they made the postseason as a wild card, looked like they could be a consistent threat in the AFC playoffs, or not in the playoffs, just in the AFC. And last season they start 2-6 and missed the playoffs altogether. They were playing meaningful football in December. They had a game at Houston late in the season where they had to win to keep their playoff hopes alive. And once again, in one of those games, Tua Tagovailoa turned into a pumpkin. I think he had 4 interceptions in that game. Tua Tagovailoa, when he's healthy, is a good quarterback, but his injury concerns are very real. I believe to this point in his career, he's only played 1 full season. I think Mike McDaniel is clever, but still has a lot of deficiencies as a head coach. I don't trust their defense. I don't trust them against good teams. And I think their offensive line is a disaster. And if you combine that with Tua's injury history, that makes both of them even more concerning. Another team that I think could be in for the bottom falling out in 2025 is the Colts. Now, I have believed in the Colts a little bit the last couple seasons. I think I had them on the border of the playoffs last year, but not this year. I don't think Shane Steichen has been very good as the Colts head coach. They do not have a quarterback. I'm sorry to say this, and I hope I'm wrong, but Anthony Richardson looks like a bust to me. Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson look to be in a quarterback competition for the week 1 starting job. I don't know if there are other guys in the competition as well. I'm pretty sure it's just Jones and Richardson. And I think last season, having their season ended with Drew Lock putting 45 points on their defense, it means more than just 1 loss. I think it says a lot about the maturity of that team and the state of that organization. I think Las Vegas, after winning only 4 games last year, is bound to take a pretty significant leap in 2025 for 2 major reasons. One, the upgraded head coach. Pete Carroll might be a little bit washed, as might his defensive philosophies, but he's at least an adult in the room. Much like Jerod Mayo, I don't think Antonio Pierce was head coaching material. And then the second reason is the upgraded quarterback. I think that Geno Smith can give the Raiders production of that of the 11th to the 15th best quarterback in the NFL. And that's a significant upgrade from where they were last year, with the carousel of Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell. They also have the benefit of a 4th-place schedule, and I think it's very possible they end up second in the AFC West this coming year. I have to write the Kansas City Chiefs in almost by default for a decline in 2025. Now, they will be a good team, but they won 15 games last season. I do not think they will be close to a 15-win team this coming season. I think they will be closer to a 10 or 11-win team. Last season, they were 11-0 in 1-score games. That's just not going to happen in consecutive seasons. Regression has to happen somewhere, regression to the mean. I think they will still be good in 1-score games. they might be closer to 7-4 in one-score games as opposed to 11-0. They have questions at left tackle. They have a question at left guard after trading Joe Thuney. Right tackle remains a question, and Travis Kelce's age remains a question as well. I also think that Detroit, who also won 15 games last year, is in for a decline in 2025. Now, I still think they will win the NFC North and be a playoff team, but I think they will be far closer to 10 or 11 wins, or actually, I think they'll be at 10 or 11 wins, not close to 15 wins, which is what they were at last year. Slightly different reasons than Kansas City. Of course, the Lions lost both their offensive and defensive coordinators, Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, and that's just really tough to overcome. I understand they still have one of the best rosters in the NFL, talent almost everywhere on offense, and last year they unfortunately had a lot of defensive injuries, and while they will get some players back, like Aiden Hutchinson, I don't know that Aiden Hutchinson is going to be the same player coming off that major injury. Hopefully he returns to form, but unfortunately sometimes that's just not the case in the NFL. A team that I think might not quite be a playoff team in 2025, but I think should be better than they were last season, is Carolina. They only won 5 games last year, and the biggest reason I think they'll be better, I think Bryce Young will play at the level he did over the last 9 games last year over the course of this entire season. To recap, through 2 weeks, Bryce Young was an absolute disaster, and we were asking, is he the worst number 1 pick in NFL history? He got benched, came back in week 8. They started 1-7, but after they were 1-7, they finished the season 5-12. So they were 4-5 after he came back. And in that stretch, Bryce Young legitimately looked good. He actually played well. He looked like the lone bright spot on an otherwise terrible team with an atrocious defense. I think Bryce Young is going to continue to play at the level he did at the end of last year in 2025. And their defense last year was a disaster. If they're even slightly better in 2025, like if they're closer to maybe the 20th ranked defense in the NFL as opposed to the 32nd, then I think they could finish around 500, which is a considerable improvement considering where they were at last season. Another team that, while I don't think they'll be a playoff team in 2025, they should be better, is the Jets. And the reason to believe the Jets will be better is very simple. The circus is out of the building with Aaron Rodgers and Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas and Nathaniel Hackett and everyone. They hired Aaron Glenn as their head coach, and while I don't know how good Aaron Glenn will be at the technicalities of being a head coach, he's at least an adult in the room, which Robert Saleh was not. Kind of like Pete Carroll, well, I think will be at least an adult in the room for the Raiders. The Jets were a 5-win team last year, and it's easy to forget they were a 7-win team with Zach Wilson, in part because their defense was really good. The Jets still have a ton of talent on defense, and I think Aaron Glenn will fix up that defense, and it will be one of the better defenses in the NFL. The last team that I discussed today is Pittsburgh. Yes, I think they are going to have a losing season in 2025, especially if they sign Rodgers. Whether they sign Rodgers or not, they are inept offensively. After Big Ben retired, I think they average under 20 points a game. I do not expect that to improve in 2025. Their offensive line is still not good. Their offensive scheme as a whole is still very bland. They swapped out George Pickens for DK Metcalf. Maybe that's a slight improvement, not an improvement that's going to improve the overall offense in any significant way. Now, I understand Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season in like 17 seasons there. But I do believe that finishing the season as poorly as they did last year, that's going to be tough on them coming into this season, picking up on that note. While the Steelers under Tomlin tend to not finish seasons very well, we have never seen them start 10-3, lose out, and as in lose 4 in a row to end the season, getting blasted often, and then getting blasted in their first playoff game. I think if Mason Rudolph is a starter, they will be maybe an 8-win team or a 9-win team. I understand 9 wins would be a losing season, but it would be a regression from where they were in 2024. And 9 wins, they probably wouldn't make the playoffs. And if they sign Rodgers, I think that the circus that would come with Aaron Rodgers could potentially knock them to 6 or 7 wins. There are other teams I could have touched on in this video. I will touch on them in later videos, but those are 10 teams that I think will either take a leap or a fall in 2025. To recap, the teams that I think will take a leap include, but are not limited to, New England, Chicago, Las Vegas, Carolina, and the Jets. The teams that I think are going to take a fall: Indianapolis, Miami, Kansas City, Detroit, and Pittsburgh. That will be all for today. Thank you for tuning into this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and hit the subscribe button for more content like this. And if you want to be notified of future uploads, please click the bell icon. You can choose all notifications or personalized notifications, whatever floats your boat. Thank you again for tuning in, and I will see you again real soon.